And it's on a Friday afternoon, and this is your host, Danny Kenyatta Davis, for the next 25 minutes of the greatest interactive television that you will find anywhere in the United States of America, and that is Hotline 21, where you, the audience, get an opportunity to participate in any way that you possibly can. I am obviously very delighted because I've been in Chicago almost for the last 20 hours. I wasn't supposed to be here today at all, but the schedules get changed, and the work that we were supposed to have been doing today, we managed to get it done yesterday. Therefore, I am here. Sometimes I have a guest, sometimes I don't, sometimes I'm alone, but today I am delighted because I have a guest, Miss Sharita Logan, who is the district director for the 7th Congressional District of Illinois, which means that I get an opportunity to work with her practically every day, and we communicate every day. Sometimes I know what she's doing, sometimes I don't. So you
clip it and then we hold it.
Sometimes I don't, but we just dropped a little microphone for a hot minute, and it only takes a minute to get a hot microphone back. And so we are back. Sharita, why don't you, if you would, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
So I live in the 7th Congressional District on the west side of Chicago, where I've been primarily most of my life. I am a mom, so happy Mother's Day to everyone. And I serve now currently as the 7th Congressional District Manager under the leadership of Congressman Danny Davis. I have run a not-for-profit for maybe prior to coming to government, and always had a yearning for political activity as I grew up and as an adult.
And you go to church.
I do go to church, and my pastor's Pastor Ray Berry Hill over at Resurrection Life Church International Ministries. Come out and join us if you like.
Well, let me just mention for our viewers that that church is a very interesting church to me for a lot of reasons. Not only do they do all of the spiritual things that you do and have some of the best singing that you will find anywhere, and I just love music, but in addition to that, and great preaching, but it's also a church where two congregations merged. One congregation was primarily African American. The other primary congregation was primarily Latino.
Yes.
And they decided to merge their two churches. One pastor retired, I believe.
Yes, that's
and
right.
And they put the two congregations together. And so while there are mixtures of people who attend different churches, as a matter of fact, I attended a church a few weeks ago. There were about 1,600 people there. There were two African Americans there, myself and a fellow named Fred Davis. No relation, as the two Collins used to say, just simply meaning that Fred and I have the same last name, Davis, but we're not cousins, so we're not brothers, so we're not sisters and brothers. We both have the last name Davis. And my father had some interesting observations about why there were so many people with the last name of Davis. He said that during slavery and before the end of slavery, African Americans in this country had one name for the most part, Skibo, whatever they were named. But of course, at the end of slavery, after slavery ended, they took on two names that like everybody else had. And some people named themselves after something they liked, or maybe something that they could do well, or maybe even someone who had done something for them that they appreciated. And then there were some people who didn't have anything in particular that they wanted to name themselves. But everybody had heard of Jefferson Davis. Jefferson Davis, of course, was the president of the Confederacy, and you would have to say was an oppressor of black people. And he said that yet black people took that name because they knew it. And he would always impress upon us that some people do things not always because they like it, but sometimes people do things that they know about. That sometimes kids will start using drugs because they know about kids using drugs. Or people will start drinking alcohol to excess, or they start drinking it and it gets to excess because they know about it, and not because it's reaching out for them, but they know about it, and so they try it. And he maintained that that might have been the way we got our last name. But it's Mother's Day and not Father's Day. So I'm remembering these stories about my parents, and I know that most people believe that the greatest woman they've ever known was their mother.
That's right.
And I would say they were pretty accurate, but the most wonderful woman that I've known. Well, my grandmama was pretty good.
That's
too,
right, mine too.
Because I was her favorite. I was the first male child in our family. And my grandmother lived with us for a while because her youngest two sons both went to the Army. And so nobody else was there except my father. And so she moved in with us after Nehemiah, we call them Nehemiah and Ransom. Uncle Nehemiah and Uncle Ransom went to the Army. And I always liked veterans because they would send her a check every month. And whenever she got her check, she'd go buy some little special candy. Of course, I would be the beneficiary. So I had a love for veterans even before I knew anything about going to the Army. I just knew they sent that check, and Grandma Mattie would go to the store. And I remember her sending me once to the store to get her a pop. This was after they had bought her a house, and then she lived in a town. And the man told me, he said, "You got to drink it here." And
oh, no.
I drank her pop.
Oh, no.
So I get back. She said, "Where's my pop?" I said, the man said I had to drink it in the store. And so I drank it. She said, "Come and go bring me a switch. You know I didn't send you to get no pop. And you can drink." That's when you put a deposit on balls. Well, let me ask you, how did you get interested in doing social work, and being a social activist, and doing the stuff that you do?
So I inherited this activity from my grandmother. my great-grandmother, and my parents. My grandmother believed in helping everybody that she could, and so did my great-grandmother. As a matter of fact, my great-grandmother was a member of Marshall Hatch's dad's church. He was her pastor. And so we grew up in a church setting. At that time, my grandmother and my mother and dad attended Holy Ghost Pentecostal Church of God in Christ over on Damon and Van Buren. And so I grew up there. And so we learned early on to help those who could not help themselves, not to look down on a person, not to be comfortable if the next person was uncomfortable. Make sure you helped your brothers and sisters. And so we were always organized in large units. My cousins, our friends, the block that we grew up on, everybody looked after each other. And so it just became a thing to do. My father was a pastor, and my mom, before she passed, also was ordained as a pastor. And so it was just kind of in our blood, and I just must say my Creator also gave me that yearning to help people. And so that's how I got a love for being in this business. To me, it's nothing like helping somebody else find their way, picking somebody else, cleaning them off, taking care of someone. My mom worked in the healthcare industry. She could have been a doctor had she not been saddled with trying to make sure that we were okay. But she devoted her time to us and could not put the time in school to further her education in healthcare that she would have liked. So, but that's how I got that urge to help people.
Sounds like you may have taken a cue from Dr. King, because I remember a song that he liked in particular that said, "If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word, a song, if I can show somebody right who might be going wrong, then my living will not be in vain." And so this business of helping rather than hurting, it seemed to me that lots of people grow up with the idea, if I can hurt somebody, as opposed to if I can help somebody. You know, I didn't necessarily intend to just talk religion or faith, but, you know, I was reading the Bible. And as a matter of fact, I have a desire, and maybe before the evening is over, I will probably open the book of Proverbs, because we've been talking about children and what children need and how do we stop the violence. And I can tell you that reading in the book of Proverbs really turns me on in terms of the great instructions that are there. If you want to do good, do good. say, yes. You know, children, obey your parents.
That's right.
Do stuff that, you know, a kind word generates kindness in return. And so maybe if we gave the Democrats and the Republicans another shot of Proverbs in the manual, you know, like when they got the manual, when you go somewhere and start anew, they tell you how to make it as pleasant for yourself as you can. So what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing there's not enough of. So,
Well, you know, Congressman, there's two things you brought up that struck a chord with me, and it's something that you would say I would remind you of King Song, because that he was my inspiration to do to pay attention politically. He was my inspiration. In addition to what we were being taught at home, he reinforced it, and he is the reason that today that I value your work. He's the reason politically today that I got involved. I couldn't wait to get 18 so that I would be able to vote. Although I was a young girl when he was assassinated, but the marches, the movement, the messaging, him being dignified under an adverse environment, him walking hand in hand with his brothers and sisters of multi-ethnic groups to fight for against injustice for everyone. And I remember one of his speeches saying that injustice was an injustice to everyone, not just the person that the injustice was taking place. And so it is his being that had me value your work, and I felt, I still feel privileged and blessed to be able to work alongside with you with the indoctrination of what you have instilled in us over these last 30, 40 years about making a place a better place, making the world a better place than you found it, and that you don't have to bring harm to the next person in order to accomplish that. And so I thank you. I value you for that, to be in real time with a Dr. Danny K Davis and having the love that I had for a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It is amazing. And then the other thing you just struck a chord with was our children in church. It was our foundation. Once I took a group of one of my son's friends to a church with us, and the audience clapped for them. It was a group of boys. They had never, in the group, they had never been to church. And so we began to make that a regular thing, but it was a big sacrifice. Getting them to church on Sunday, getting them clothes to wear to church because they didn't have the clothes to wear to church, getting them some food, getting them some dinner, getting them to choir practice, getting them to Bible study. It was a sacrifice. And so we had to do that, and I would hope that we would get back into that spirit of sacrificing some of our time to help our children, and particularly those children that don't have a mentor to help them get across the hurdles of growing up. And then the other thing...
Let me do this, because I know that Sunday is Mother's Day, and I've enjoyed all of the activity that people have planned and that I've been fortunate to be a part of. But you're doing a lot of work with fathers and with men and young men and disenchanted men. Could you share some of those things that we have planned coming up that relate to fathers and fatherhood?
Yes, I can. So for the last 12 years, we have been engaged in reconnecting families together for Father's Day. What we take a group of children, sometimes 1-2 bus loads. I think one year we had 3 buses loads of children to reconnect with their fathers who are incarcerated. All of the studies show that bringing those families together has helped the fathers. The recidivism rate was down to less than 10% for those fathers that we interacted with on a regular basis. And also the behavior of the children who was reconnected with their fathers on a regular basis, their behavior got better. And so on June the 10th of this year, we're going to have our annual pre-Father's Day conversation, where we have resources for fathers, jobs, housing, financial literacy, health. We also will have what they call a talk at the table. And talk at the table will allow men to come together to talk about their fears, fatherhood, parenting, their struggles, their successes, the issues that they face every day, so that they can help one another change that dynamic. Sometimes you just got to hear another person's story or see what they're doing to help make a way better for you. And so we're going to be doing that at our office outside in front of it on June the 10th. Starting at 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. We also will have our annual awards where we award fathers, everyday fathers. It may be the person that's just taking the kid to school, picking up the garbage on the street, driving the truck, working the sanitary trucks. Everyday fathers, common men. You don't have to have a title, but you can have a title. And we're also having those men nominated for our Fatherhood Award. And that is some of the things that we have coming up for fathers.
And if people want to be a part of that, if they'd like to come and participate, how do they get in touch with us to do that and to make sure that they've got the correct information or the accurate information?
So there are a couple of ways to do that. You can give me a call, Sharita Logan, at area code 773-533-7520 at our office. You can also email me. If you call the office, they will give you the email address. If I am unavailable, they can also connect with Reverend Paul Jakes, who is also in our office, or Willie Burton, who is also in our office. So either three of us can connect you with what you need and how to register to participate, or how to just come and participate by calling our office again at 773-533-7520. We're located at 2813 through 15 West 5th Avenue in Chicago. You can also stop by the office to get information. And the email address would be Sherita, Cheri, T as in Tom, A as in Apple, .Logan, Logan, at mail, mail, house, house, .gov. So give us a call, give us an email, or come by, and we'll plug you into that activity.
We know that many of our boys growing up don't have as much interaction with their fathers as we'd love to see them have. And so some of this fatherhood initiative is to try and help men who did not have the opportunity for those experiences to go back and learn a way. For example, we generally, if things are conducive, take families to the penitentiary for children to see their fathers who are incarcerated. And we find that some fathers have children and they've never seen them at all.
That's right.
That they may have been convicted before the child was born.
That's right.
And sent off to prison. So they've never ever seen their children. They just have never seen them. And we've got some great stories we can tell you about that. We won't tell you today because our time is about to run off. But Sharita, let me thank you for the outstanding work that you do, not only in terms of the fatherhood initiative that you champion and chair, but of all the work you do with small businesses, helping make sure that they get loans and grants and opportunities to finance their businesses. You can give us a call whenever you want to at 773-533-7520. And if we can, we will be delighted to help you. We can help you with problems you're having with the Internal Revenue.
That's right.
We can help you with problems you're having with Social Security.
That's right.
And we can even help you if you've got loved ones who are incarcerated.
That's right.
In some ways, we can't say that we're going to be able to get them out.
Right.
So thanks for watching. Have a wonderful Mother's Day, and we'll see you next week.